Why? Why? A local busybody wanting to be rewarded for bringing good tidings ran to the mullah's house one day. Nasrudin, good news. What is it? They are baking cakes next door. What is that to me? But they are going to give you some. What is that to you? That's a famous one. What's it to you? That mind your own business, right? Why is it relevant to him?
If I give you want some, why you say it? So if I give you some,
It's like he's.
expect it.
What is it he says that counts? A cruel neighbor wanted to borrow Nasrudin's donkey. I'll have to ask his permission, said the mullah. Ask the donkey's permission. Cruel neighbor wanted to borrow Nasrudin's donkey. I'll have to ask his permission, said the mullah. All right, go and ask him. Nasrudin soon came back from the stable. I am sorry. He is endowed with prescience, and says that the future does not augur well for your relationship with him, he told the man. What does he see in the future then? I asked him. He simply said, long journeys and short meals, sore bones and scuffed knees. The donkey didn't want to go with him. What will he find? There is a burglar downstairs, said Nasrudin's wife one night. Not a sound, whispered the mullah. If he finds anything here, he will have to bring it into the house himself first. He may even leave something behind. He may leave something.
He was sure there was nothing for the
Be quiet, Cully can leave something. Just for the asking. I hear that you have some vinegar which is 40 years old, a neighbor said to Nasrudin. Will you give me some? Certainly not, said the mullah. It would not be 40 years old if I kept giving it away, would it? That's kind of funny. How would he have 40-year-old vinegar? We come and we go. Where do we come from and where do we go to? And what is it like? Thundered the wandering dervish. The wandering dervish says, where do we come from and where do we go to? And what is it like? Thundered the wandering dervish. I don't know, said Nasrudin, but it must be pretty terrible. A bystander asked him why. Observation shows me that when we arrive as babies, we are crying, and many of us leave crying and reluctantly too. We're crying. Now we have the Karkorajami. What is a Karkorajami? Someone asked Nasrudin's little boy, who had been talking about fairy tale characters. Why, what its name means, said the boy. It is a blind, deaf, and dumb walking thing. Yes, interrupted the mullah, and I taught it to be those things. He taught it to be. It's a blind, deaf, and dumb walking thing. Yes, interrupted Mulla, and I taught it to be those things. The smell of a thought. Nasrudin was penniless and sat huddled in a blanket while the wind howled outside. At least, he thought, the people next door will not smell cooking from my kitchen, so they can't send round to catch from food. At that, the thought of hot aromatic soup came into his mind, and he savored it mentally for several minutes. Then came a knocking on the door. "Mother sent me," said the little daughter of his neighbor, "to ask whether you had any soup to spare, hot seasoned soup." "Heaven help us," said Nasser. "The neighbors even smell my thoughts." They can smell. You can smell a thought. Interesting. Do you think that's true?
Maybe.
The smell of a thought. Nasrudin was penniless and sat huddled in a blanket while the wind howled outside. At least, he thought, the people next door will not smell cooking from my kitchen, so they can't send round to catch some food. At that, the thought of hot aromatic soup came into his mind, and he savored it mentally for several minutes. There came a knocking on the door. "Mother sent me," said the little daughter of his neighbor, "to ask whether you had any soup to spare, hot seasoned soup." "Heaven help us," said Nasrudin. "The neighbors even smell my thoughts." The burglar. A thief went into Nasrudin's house and carried away almost all the possessions of the Mulla to his own home. Nasrudin had been watching from the street. After a few minutes, Nasrudin took up a blanket, followed him, went into his house, laid down, and pretended to go to sleep.
I thought you would say that.
Who are you?
After a while, you know how he will think.
"Who are you, and what are you doing here?" asked the thief. "Well," said the Mullah, we were moving house. We were moving house. Were we not?"
Very accommodating.
God, it's very funny. A matter of time, not place. A man called, wanting to borrow a rope. "You cannot have it," said Nasrudin. "Why not?" "Because it is in use." But I can see it just lying there on the ground. That's right. That's its use. How long will it stay in use like that, Mulla? "Until such time as I feel that I want to lend it," said Nasrudin. It's in use. It's a matter of time, not place. Interesting. All in my wife's name. Nasrudin was eating a huge roast chicken one day when a poor man passed by and said, peering through the window, "Please give me some of that bird, for I am starving." "Willingly," said Nasrudin. "For my part, I will give you all of it. But unfortunately, it belongs to my wife." Waiting for the yeast to rise, Nasrudin's wife sent him to the river for water. She could not go, she explained, though it was woman's work, because she was waiting for the dough to rise. Mulla wandered to the riverside, reached in with the pot, and lost it in the water. An hour later, he was still sitting there, looking steadily into the water. Someone passing by asked him what he was doing. "Waiting," he said, "for the dough to rise." Funny. Even fire. The Mullah tried to get his fire going, but the embers would not produce a flame, no matter how he puffed on them. Losing his temper, he shouted, "I'll bring my wife if you don't light," and puffed all the harder. The charcoal glowed more strongly, so he snatched up his wife's hat and put it on to increase the effect. Suddenly he saw a flame. Nasrudin smiled. "Even fire is afraid of my wife." mm. Mm. Well, they all had tough wives, I guess.
She's why was going in Hatakalole. Very modern.
Even, who is it had a tough wife? Hmm. Hmm. Did Tuka have one? Or? They all had tough wives. Remember Socrates had a tough wife. Later than you think, deciding for once to fast for 30 days of Ramadan, Nasrudin thought he would keep count by putting one stone for every day into a pot. His little daughter, seeing her father do this, started to carry stones from all over the garden and put them in the pot too. Nasrudin knew nothing of this. A few days later, some travelers passing by asked him how many days of the fasting month had passed. Nasrudin hurried to his pot and counted the stones. Then he came back and said 45. But there were only 30 days in a month. "I do not exaggerate it," said the Mulla with dignity. "Far to the contrary, the actual number is 153. We have been reading from the Pleasantries of the incredible Mulla Nasrudin by Indries Shah. Cool. He's called like a hodja, hodja in Greek. And, remember, I saw hodja on a donkey backwards in a gas station in Turkey. You remember seeing? They had a huge sign with him on a donkey backwards in a gas station in Turkey. He's very famous.